Last September, I passed all my Dutch inburgering exams and I was so happy about it and so proud and so relieved too. Basically, the Dutch inburgering exams are the Dutch integration exams that you need if you are obliged to integrate in the Netherlands and become a Dutch citizen, or you choose to do so. This means now that I've passed, I can apply for Dutch citizenship or a permanent residence if I want to. And I have the diploma as well to show for it. In this video, I'm going to share with you how the whole process looks like, how the exams are structured, and also how I prepped for it, and how I passed in one go. Yay, me. And how you can too. Before we start, two disclaimers. First one is that as I mentioned, I chose to integrate voluntarily, meaning I didn't have to. If you are obliged to do so legally, you have a bit of a different process that I will mention throughout here and there. But because I don't go through it myself, I'm not going to be going into details of that process as well. And I have links so you can check that out. Secondly, is that legally I am not allowed to discuss or mention any of the questions or anything about my own exams. So this is only how the general process looks like, how are the structures, how you can apply for the diploma and things like this, and how I prepped for the exam as well. Hello and welcome. My name is Naz and this is Out of Our Comfort Zone. In this channel, I share with you the real side of expat life, traveling, and more. The integration exam consists of an O&M, a CONM, and of course the language exams. First of O&M is the orientation to the Dutch labor market. Basically, there's a bunch of courses and you have to do some assignments. The goal is to prep you and teach you about the Dutch labor market, how you can work in the labor market, how you can get a job, things like this. Good news is, if you are not integrating because you have to, you're not obliged to, and you have a job in the Netherlands in the past 12 months, for 6 months of it at least, as an employee, you get an exemption from it, and you just apply for an exemption, and of course the government knows if you're working here or not as an employee, and you just receive an exemption, which I did. Most people who choose to integrate, they already have a job, that's why they are in the Netherlands, so that exemption is there for most of the people who go that route. KNM is the knowledge of Dutch society. It's basically a test that the goal is to touch your knowledge about the customs, the culture, the laws, those types of things. And I will go through like the book that I used to learn that, basically learn it for the exam. And the third one and the biggest one is the language exams. Like all language exams, 4 different skills: reading, listening, writing, and speaking. If you are choosing to naturalize or integrate voluntarily, you only need level A2 for your integration diploma as of August 2024. If you are obliged to integrate and you've entered the country after 2022, you have to have level B1. I think for partner visa, you have to have level B1. It depends a bit on your situation as well, that you can check out. I have links down below for every level that you need to check out. But I went through the A2 route, and I know that people who came earlier, still you can do A2 if you don't have to integrate in the society, and it's a choice that you are doing as well. In terms of when to take the exam, you can take the exam as soon as you're in the Netherlands and you have a residence permit. If you're obliged to do so, you have a set amount of time, like 3 years or something, that you need to pass your integration test. If you're choosing to do so, you have the option to apply for residency after 5 years, and that's where most people also book their exam, so close to that 5-year date mark. That's what I did too. You don't have to. I think at least for me, 2 things was helpful, was that because it was 5 years that I left, I was living in the Netherlands, because it was 5 years that I was living in the Netherlands, I had a lot of language skills and also the kind of built in me, and it was easier. And also I had a deadline, so it made me work towards it. If I had time to like retake the exams a lot and things like this, I would just push it and push it and push it. So see how your own mind works. but also do leave some time in case you fail for yourself, and plan beforehand, especially if you want to take the exam in Amsterdam. I know the backlog is really long and you have a lot of waiting time. And also if you have to do it in summer or after summer, the waiting time is a bit longer as well, as most things in Netherlands, if you've lived here long enough, you know. You don't have to take it in Amsterdam if you're living. You can take it anywhere that you want. It's not like it's tied to like your living place. Just see how it works for you. If you want to take it earlier, you can go somewhere else and things like this. To see the exam dates and to also book for it is pretty easy. You just log in with your DGD in my inburgeringsexamen, and you can see what you need to take, what is specific to your situation. You can apply for the O&M exemption, and you can book your exams and see the dates and what is working and what is not working for you. The exam, as I said, KNM, and also reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Reading and listening, each of them have 25 questions. I think reading was 65 minutes and listening 45 minutes faster. And speaking 24 questions with 35 minutes or something like this. I'll put a text somewhere for the correct one. All reading, listening, and speaking are on the computer. You just do it if you've done any sort of TOEFL, IELTS, or GRE, GMAT, or things like this. It's pretty similar setup. Computers, personal computers, headphones on, that's the way to go. For writing, you're actually writing on a physical paper, which was quite shocking to me. I haven't done that in a while for an exam like this. But yeah, like that's the only one that you are writing on a physical paper as well. When you take your exams, you need to have 6 out of 10, like the Dutch universities, to pass. And legally, you will get your exam results within the 8-week mark. You will get a letter, and also you will get it in your system. Of course, you will get it in your system in my inburgering faster than the letter, but for each of them, you will get a letter. For me and also my husband, reading and listening was pretty fast. Speaking was a bit longer, and writing was the one that actually took until the 8-week point mark to get them. In my case, I have lived in the Netherlands around 5 years before I decided to take the exams. I was pretty much exposed to Dutch here and there, so getting to an A2 level was not really difficult. I still had to study, and I did self-study. But yeah, like I think if you've been exposed to the language, A2 is not a very difficult level of language proficiency to get to, especially if you know English. I first did take the example exams on the Duo website. I think it really helped. I think you should do that to just gauge where you're at with your Dutch skills. If you've taken classes, if not, if you've just been here, just see where you're at and take a decision there. For me personally, I didn't take any classes, again, because I'm a bit of an experienced language learner. I've taught English myself when I was younger. So I just did self-study on a bit of Duolingo. It's fun and it's easy to do. It's not the most effective way of language learning or the most scientifically proven one, but it does help. And I just did self-study with the book Netherlands in Gang. I had the CD, I had the book. I don't have it right now on me because I've lent it to a friend, so I can't show you the book, but here's the picture. And also a link down below. It is a good book to get you to A2 level. And also you can take classes. I know language classes are expensive in the Netherlands, but here and there it does help. I've taken classes before. I like the university classes best, to be honest with you. So yeah, there's that. For KNM, take the test, take the example tests, I mean, and see the questions, see what you know, see what you don't know. For example, I've had some experiences living in the Netherlands that not all people might have, and some people have different experiences. I've gone through the whole mortgage insurance process. I've gone through having a baby, so I had information about those. I've lived in Rotterdam, so I was away from Amsterdam, so maybe I know a bit of the geography more. But I did study this book, not all of it, but yeah, most of it, not all of it, because some of it I knew, so I would just look at the chapters and decide what I knew and what I didn't know. For example, renting a house. I knew most of how to rent a house. I've been through the process a few times, so that was not needed for me. But take a look at it. It's quite good. It also has a website, so I think this book can be very helpful. I think preparing for an exam also is about booking the right order, at least it was for me and for the people I've seen. Generally speaking, easier language skills are reading and listening. Especially reading is the easiest. So what I did, and what I suggest you do as well, is book the reading first and then the listening. It also builds up confidence and your momentum to do so, and then speaking and writing. I booked speaking first and then writing because for myself, I know speaking was easier than writing, especially that writing was on a paper. So there was no computer to correct your spelling here and there, or like for you to go back, delete something and write it again. And at the point that I took the exam, it's been 3 years and a half that I actually actively wrote on papers. My work is very on the computer and also just my personal life as well. So that was a challenge personally for me, and that's why I chose to take the writing last, but choose which one you're more concerned about, basically. I took Conam last, that's what I suggest as well, so that you have that confidence, you've passed your exams, and now you're like, oh, Conam is easy. Also because the level of the Dutch language on Conam, I think it's not A2, it's a bit more difficult. It's probably around B1 from what I've seen and from what I've heard of my other friends taking the exam. So it's nice, and from the examples you can also see that. So I would say it's nicer to be like in that language process already and not do the Conam first. Generally, I do think the best way for you to decide which one is the right order for you is good to take the tests to see which one you feel more comfortable with, and also to see how much studying you will need to pass these tests. Language learning is a process, and it looks different for everybody. It's a skill that you need to hone in. If you haven't learned a language before, like my husband, actively, it's a bit harder, I can imagine. Don't lose hope, set a date, set a goal, and keep in mind that whenever you're using a language, you will get better at it. If you distance yourself from it, you will forget it, but it will come back when you go back to it. So don't get discouraged if you don't study for a week and you've lost some of it, but also keep in mind that the best way to do it is to be involved with it at all times. If you're obliged to integrate, or you are deciding to take the naturalization route in the Netherlands, this integration process is a process that you have to go through. It can be a bit of a daunting process if you're not in it, and yes, it can be time consuming and of course costly. If I haven't mentioned it before, which I don't think I have, costs you around 50 euros per exam, so it is costly. But yeah, I think it's worth it if you want to do it. Do not forget a few points. I'm just summarizing. A2 if you are naturalizing as of August 2024. Also ONA, don't go through it if you don't have to. I had a friend who she didn't know and she had to do all these classes. Just if you're working, you can apply for it. If you're working as an employee, you can apply for it, do so. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would love to hear if you have any questions or also your experiences of the naturalization process. I've linked all of the links that you might need down below as well, so you can check them out. If you found this video helpful, which hopefully you have, please give it a thumbs up and also share with people in your life who are considering or have to go through this process soon. Hopefully it can be helpful for them too. Have a nice day and see you in the next video.